down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TogChat Live. It's an open mic night for photographers. Get ready for 60 minutes of your photography questions in real time with answers from your host, Joe Edelman.
Hey, let's try this again. Hey gang, how you doing? It is Monday night. You guys give me a heads up if you can see me and hear me and everything is working now. We should be good to go. I apologize for the technical difficulties. YouTube's interface was not being very cooperative tonight, but I think we're here. I think we are good, and you guys are seeing the intro. Awesome. So listen, it is Monday night, and I want to jump right into things. So my whole idea tonight was I was going to start 2 minutes early so I could give you a little quick announcement and then dive in. So that being said, let me give you the quick announcement and then I'll dive in, okay? I'm changing the format of TogChat. I've been listening to a lot of the responses and the feedback that I get from you guys and the requests and the things that you like. And of course, I've been watching all of the analytics to see which TogChat versions people tune into the most and where people pay the most attention and all that good stuff. So we're going to change it up. Basically, the way TogChat's going to work for at least the foreseeable future, the first 10 minutes of every TogChat are going to be a lesson, a discussion, a topic. Sometimes it'll be a little tutorial, sometimes a little demo. And after that 10 minutes, I am going to do Q&A because it seems of all the things that I did in TogChat, people like the Q&A the most. So that's what we're going to focus on, okay? But basically what I want to do, there are an overwhelming number of my subscribers who really enjoy the shorter videos, the 10-minute tutorials, you know, like the inverse square law and the best lens for portraits and all that kind of stuff. So what I want to do is I want to structure this so that for those folks, they can tune in for the first 10 minutes of TogChat and get a lesson. Get a lesson that is usable to them in a 10-minute time span and then go about their business. If they want to hang out for the question and answer, awesome. If they don't and they don't have the time, that's okay. So tonight, we're going to have a little bit of a philosophical discussion. And I'm going to switch my screen here, and you guys will also be really happy to see, at least I know a lot of you will, the chat window is back. So yes, I'm going to do a Q&A in 10 minutes. You can type your questions into the chat window here. You don't have to follow another link to give me questions or any of that kind of stuff. So I will let you know from this point forward, I'm doing TogChat solo. It's you and me and a conversation, a bunch of togs having a chat. That's it. So I will do my best to keep an eye on the chat window. I may have to scroll back from time to time. Super chat still works. It will always get my attention. But tonight I wanted to start out with this article that I saw today on DIYphotography.net. And this is really a great topic, and it's written by a photographer who I have a lot of respect for. He's out in Phoenix, Arizona. His name is Don D90, and it's got a real simple headline and a real simple premise. And I wanted to share it with you and share Don's thoughts, but then I want to add a few of my own. You guys know that I sometimes take a little bit more direct approach, and even for that matter, a little bit more of a brutal approach. And for at least those of you that follow me and are trying to learn from me and subscribe to the things that I'm teaching, I want you to read this article. I want to discuss it, but I want to add a little bit to it. I think that there is a lot of value in the thought process that Don is setting up here. So the premise behind Don's article, and I'm going to scroll down here and you guys can see a little bit. You know, and Don puts it very politely, much more politely than I would. He discusses the fact that, you know, there's just nonstop, and you see it on Facebook, you see it all over social media. I hear it when I go to photography events. I hear it when I teach workshops. Just photographers whining and complaining. I've even answered questions in TogChat about how I see the future of photography. In fact, just recently, and I won't name this person, but I was just booked to speak at a photography event in New England next March. And in the course of speaking with the gentleman who was organizing it, he actually asked me the question, like, how do you see the photography industry today? Do you think it's headed in a good direction? Do you think it's in the right place? What do you see the future being? And this is a person that makes his living doing portraits and weddings. And he's not a young guy. He's a guy that's been in the business for a lot of years. He has a very successful business, does very well for himself. But, you know, this is a very common thing. And so Don has a couple points here that he makes, and really they're all based on a disconnect. And the disconnect is the disconnect between the people with the cameras and the people that potentially pay for pictures. And so he makes a couple points. The first one is the often repeated mantra of everyone is a photographer now, followed by a dramatic and heavy sigh to make sure that we feel the pain in those words. And I got to tell you, I do lots of consultations, business consultations, marketing consultations for photographers, and I hear this pretty much every single discussion that I have. Wilson Photo, you're in Massachusetts? Well, I will tell you this. I'm going to be in Massachusetts twice in the next year, this coming weekend. So little side note, okay? I will be in Amherst, Massachusetts this weekend speaking at the NECCC. That's the New England Camera Club Council Photography Conference. It's the 72nd annual one. So if you're in Massachusetts, you really should be attending that. It's an awesome event. Canon, Nikon, Sony, Pentax, all those manufacturers are there. You can borrow equipment for the weekend, try it out. Lots of really cool stuff and some amazing speakers. And I don't mean that because I'm there. There really are some amazing speakers. So Wilson, I hope that I get to meet you there, okay? But back to Don's article here. So it is a very, very, very common complaint that it's hard to make money as a photographer. The second point that he makes is the excessive nature of gear acquisition. We see it here in the comments and the questions that come up during TogChat all the time. Some of you have seen some of my epic rants about, you know, everybody jumping on board the Sony A9 and the Sony fanboys and all that kind of stuff. It's like a large, large portion of people that call themselves photographers. And remember, according to the dictionary, anyone that takes pictures is a photographer. It says nothing about the kind of camera, and it says nothing about making money. So that being said, you know, so many people are really primarily focused on their gear, not the quality of their photography. His third point is the fear and loathing of anyone who didn't come up through the ranks, or whatever you would call it. I see this all the time, especially in a lot of the professional organizations. I'm not going to lie. Now, I don't want to make that a blanket statement to say that every professional organization is a bunch of backstabbing and people that won't help each other, because that's absolutely not true. But indeed, within the professional organizations, there are pockets of people that are kind of very old school, extremely competitive, and honestly, they'd rather put a knife in your back than help you out. And then the flip side of that, there are pockets that are just the most amazing and supportive people. I'll give you one example. A group that I've done a lot of work with is in North Carolina. It's the Professional Photographers of North Carolina. So that's the regional group for PPA, Professional Photographers of America. I have yet, in all of my travels, in all of my teaching, in all of my workshops and lectures, I've yet to meet a group that is as supportive and friendly and welcoming and helpful as the group in North Carolina. So while it's not everywhere, there is a large portion of photographers that feel like all this information that I've learned, that I've gained, it's mine, and I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to give it away because it would be like giving away my secrets. And then, of course, number 4, the anger at the derision of the beginner. It's as if, you know, there is this threat because this person is new and they are energized, that they are a threat to a photographer who's been working for years and for decades. And the last one he mentions, and this is a big one, gang, many of you struggle with this, the constant articles, posts, and memes of professional posturing. In other words, it's the testosterone-filled chest pounding of I'm a great photographer, look at me. So it doesn't matter if it's Facebook memes, doesn't matter what it is. So he goes on to make the point, and this is what I wanted to, you know, kind of bring up with you guys. He goes on to make the point that when we go to the other side of the fence and we talk to the clients, in other words, those people that may be reluctant to spend money for our services, they only care about one thing: their experience and the quality of the finished photograph. So I wanted to add something to Don's article. I think his article is excellent. I would very much encourage you guys to check it out. In fact, let me grab the link here so that you guys have it. And I will add this link to the description underneath the video when it's done. But I'll go ahead, and if you guys want to take a quick read, you're more than welcome to. There's the link. But here's the thing. In my opinion, the biggest reason why most photographers fail. So I'm going to take Don's 5 points and I'm going to summarize them into 3 simple words. Most photographers fail because, you ready? Here's the 3 words. They are lazy. Big capital letters, lazy. Every one of the symptoms that Don talks about in his article, and the whining that happens, and the complaining that happens, 99.9% of the time, I can track the problem back to the photographers doing the whining or the complaining or the moaning, to the fact that they are being lazy. Now, oftentimes, the reason they're being lazy, I want to be clear, and I have a personal example that I can give you. 15 years ago, I was renting studio space from a photographer that I had known for my entire adult life. I met him when I was 16 years old. At that time, he was the manager of a local camera store where I got my first part-time job. And he went on to set up a studio in the town where I grew up. And at the time, there were some very large companies that were headquartered in this area. This is a suburb of Philadelphia. So he did work for companies like Merck before they became Merck Sharp and Dome, and the huge pharmaceutical conglomerate that they are now. He did work for a company called American Olean Tile, which doesn't exist in its namesake today, but they were tile makers. He did work for a company called Gas Boy, which at the time was one of the largest manufacturers of gas pumps and other types of pumps and meters. Logan, thank you so much for that super chat. I really appreciate it, Logan. So he had a situation where basically his clients just showed up. He was the only guy in town. And if these people needed work, they came to him. So he never had to market himself. He never had to go out and aggressively try to get work. And he didn't do portraits and weddings and any of that kind of stuff. He was a very technically oriented commercial photographer. Because let's face it, gas pumps and tiles, not really sexy stuff. But from a technical standpoint, this gentleman was an excellent and amazing photographer. When I ran into him after many, many years, this was 15 years ago, because I hadn't seen him in probably 20 years. He was kind of a shell of himself, meaning he was frustrated as a photographer. He wasn't enjoying photography. He was struggling tremendously in his business, which is why he welcomed me into his studio, because I was going to be paying rent and would help out with the mortgage that he was paying on the building that he owned. So he wound up leaving the business about 4 years after I kind of caught up with him again. And those last 4 years, he did very, very, very little work. And here's the reason why he failed. Because he was not a lazy man. This was a guy that worked his butt off for many, many years, decades. Did excellent work. But what happened was he didn't evolve. So here's part 2 of my thoughts that I'm adding to Don's article. I've already established the reason people fail is because they're lazy. But we have to look at sometimes why are people lazy? Because all humans to some degree were inherently lazy. Nobody wants to work harder than we have to, right? But if you're going to make money, if you're going to get people to pay you and you're going to be successful, you're going to have to work, and you're going to have to work hard. Success does not come without hard work. It simply doesn't. So, what I learned along the way is that what was really happening to a lot of people, and this friend of mine in particular, was that he didn't evolve. He was not computer savvy. In fact, he hated computers. Digital photography should have been a 4-letter word as far as he was concerned. He was very slow to pick up digital and become accustomed to it. And the fact of the matter is, he was very slow doing it while his clients were saying we need digital files. His clients, let's face it, clients don't care if you're shooting film or digital. They simply don't care. But they do care if they want a digital file. You've got to be able to provide them a digital file. I know a young man that interned for me very briefly a couple of years ago that does weddings. He's still in college. Does weddings, awesome weddings. And he shoots film. If you remember back to that zombie video that I did last Christmas, the little dig about shooting film is not a badge of honor, that was kind of a dig at him, because when he posts all his pictures, he mentions that it's film. Like we should care. His clients don't care. But the fact that he shoots film, very cool. I give him a lot of props for it because it's seriously old school. James Parrish, you're right. Lazy is a 4-letter word. You're absolutely right. So, you know, we have to understand, we all have to understand that evolution happens whether we want it to or not. And the people that are going to survive and have the opportunity to be successful are the people that evolved. And that's what happened in the photography world. And that's what's still happening in the photography world because, you know, all of us, folks, I don't care if you're my age or I don't care if you're in your 20s, we are at a point now where we accept the internet and computer technology and digital cameras as a given. It's the thing. But if you step way back and you look at the big picture here and the historical timelines, we are in the infancy of this technological revolution that's based around the internet. We are in the infancy of digital technology, digital cameras, all of this stuff. Ryan, thank you so much, man. Freemason, thank you so much, both of you. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So, you know, the challenge here is really understanding that things will change. Things are going to change. Change is good. Change creates opportunity. The people that struggle, the ones that are doing the whining, the ones that can't seem to get past the fact that, you know, people don't think that photography is as valuable as it used to be, and all of those complaints that we hear, those are people that are not evolving. They're stuck. And they're stuck because they're being lazy. So my challenge to all of you is remember that. You know, we're always going to like our gear. Boys like their toys, right? And we even have some girls in here that like their toys. It's just a fact of life. There's nothing wrong with liking the gear. There's nothing wrong with liking the toys. But for those of you that want to progress, you got to put in the hard work. And by the way, this whole conversation, you notice I didn't stress about the idea of making money. There were some examples about making money. It's simply about taking good pictures. Cameras have gotten better. Cameras have made it easier to take good pictures. You guys all know I love taking pictures on these phones. Love it, okay? But at the end of the day, you don't get great pictures by buying a great camera. We all know that joke, right? Somebody comes up to you and says, hey, you must have a really good camera. Those pictures are awesome. It's not the camera. It's what you do with it. Hence, don't be lazy. Stop your complaining, put in the hard work, and understand that things are going to evolve. That's my point. Thank you for listening. So, really quick now, let's back up and let's take care of a little bit of business, all right, while you guys are still here. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of you guys here tonight. Tony, Ryan, Freemason, Logan, thank you so much for the super chats. Sven is here, Jean-Edward Calvino, Trevor, Paul's here, Roy Patton's here, Busy Rand, Chris, Brent Drafts, Jay, Cecil, all you guys, thank you so much, really. I really appreciate your being here. And I appreciate the support that you guys give me by watching my videos and the support that you give me with the feedback, all that stuff. You guys are absolutely awesome. So please, if you have a moment, if you're not doing it already, make sure you follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Those are the ones where you're going to find me the most active. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. James Parrish, thank you so much, man. Thank you. I really appreciate the super chat. And believe me, the motivation thing, we could all use a little kick in the butt from time to time. So, and that's myself included. So really, thank you so much, okay? Like the video, always thumbs up, please. Greatly appreciate it. And of course, comments are really, really appreciated. So I want to show you guys a couple of other things really quick. You hear me use this practice thing all the time. And I talk about practice, practice, practice. So a couple months ago, I had a couple people that messaged me and kind of called me out on this practice thing. Like, come on, man, do you really do that? You know, like, you mean to tell me you really take pictures every day? Fact of the matter is, I do. I do it out of passion, almost kind of like a religion, but I do it. So here's what I decided to do. And I started a second Instagram channel, okay? And let me bring this up here so you guys can see this. Switch the screen over here. So it's Joe Edelman's iPhone. Let me grab the link here for you guys and I will paste it in the section because I would love it if you guys would go and follow me real quick. Okay, there we go. So I've been posting new Instagram photos every day to prove that I do it. And I'm also posting some older images kind of from my archive. So just to give you a little tip, you can tell if it's an archive image, and I haven't actually posted any archive images in a little while, but I will from time to time. You can tell if it's an archive image when you look at the caption, it'll tell you from the archives. So if it's a current image like this one here, it will have iPhone photo of the day and the date. So I'm putting this up here not as a challenge, not saying that you've got to go out and do the 365-day picture thing. No, if you want to, awesome. I'll give you a thumbs up for that, and I will encourage you to do it. It's a great habit to get into. But it's really just a matter of kind of making sure that you guys all see, like, I do practice what I preach. It's important. And going back to Don's article, one of the things that has helped me not become lazy about my photography and about my work, it's this word called passion. I learned many years ago, if you're passionate about what you do, you never work. It just doesn't feel like work. And believe me, guys, I work all or a part of 7 days a week, and I love it. I love what I do. But it doesn't feel like work. It's never a chore. And that's the important part. Another thing too, a couple of you have been asking me about my gear. I am gonna do it. I'm finally gonna do it. The traditional, what's my gear video. But in the meantime, go check out this website, gang. I'll give you the link to this profile right here. Whoops, I thought I was gonna give you the link. Let me type it here, okay? There we go. I'm gonna type. If I talk and type at the same time, I will completely screw it up. So, this is a new website called kit.com. If you click on that link, it'll take you to my profile and you'll see what's in my camera case, what's in my video case, what's my portable lighting kit, favorite studio gadgets, my favorite PhotoFlex gear. You all know I was recently named a PhotoFlex Light Leader and I appreciate a lot of the great comments and congratulations from you guys. But that'll give me an opportunity to see what's there until the video comes out so you guys can check that out, okay? And then also, whoops, let me get back here to my website. There it is. Just in case you guys aren't aware of it, every time I post a new video, usually within the following week, there is an article based on the video that appears on my blog. So you can go and you can read, for those of you that like to do it old school and read and look at the still pictures, you can do all of that from the website here. And also once you're on the website, you've got links to be able to check out all of the current YouTube videos. Also, if you want to, whoops, where'd it go? If you want to follow the new iPhone profile on Instagram, you can do that there. So please do check out that resource. It's there and it's available for you. Okay? All right, gang. So I promised you that I was going to answer questions tonight. I want to dig in here. I see that there's a couple been going on. So Tim Martin's got a question. Can I explain in layman's terms how a full frame camera is different from a regular camera like my Nikon D90? Costs about $1,000 more. That's one answer. Basically, Tim, and I'm going to give you a really simple answer because if you're asking me this question, it sounds like you're kind of very early on in the learning process, and that's cool. Nothing wrong with that, but I don't want to give you some super like hardcore techie answer. Basically, the simple answer is a full frame sensor is about 1.5 times bigger than a crop sensor, which is what you have. Your camera, your D90 has an APS-C sensor. So a full frame sensor is a CMOS sensor in the Nikons, okay? What that's going to do for you is it's going to make your images appear generally a little sharper. And I say that not because of the sensor, but because the Nikon full frame cameras have more megapixels than the D90. But also you're going to get a little bit better dynamic range. What that dynamic range means, James Parrish, thank you so much. I'll get to your question next. I appreciate that. What the dynamic range means is that you're going to have a better transition from the shadows to the highlights. In other words, it's not going to be as quick a fall off. The images aren't going to have quite as much negative contrast. And I say negative meaning more contrast than you want, okay? If you are just getting started, so here's the important part. I want to kind of give you a warning. The D90 is definitely what Nikon considers to be a consumer camera, meaning, I hate to use the word, but they've designed this camera for amateurs, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're just getting started out, I would encourage you, use this camera for a while. But here's what you want to be aware of. When you reach that point where you start to get gas, not this kind, but the kind that says, I've got to go and acquire gear, start looking ahead. A big mistake that beginners will make with their gear is they start adding lenses and things, and they take the cheap route because they can. Lenses for an APS-C camera, like your D90, you can buy the Nikon DX lenses, which are much less expensive than the full-frame lenses. Much less expensive in many cases. The problem with that is, if you are already hooked by the photography bug, and you're thinking that, you know, I want to work at this, and I want to get better, and I think I would like to maybe either become a really serious amateur, or God knows, become a professional down the road, well, then you're going to reach a point where you're going to want that full frame, but you're going to have to buy new lenses. So, if you see a full frame camera in the future, what you should do from this point forward is you should purchase full frame lenses. They will fit and work on your D90. That way, as you progress up the line, you are going to be able to upgrade your body to a full frame camera, and then you're going to have lenses that work with it. Your APS-C lenses are not going to work well on a full frame camera. Some won't work at all, others will work, but not the way you're going to want them to. So I hope that helps you. I see a question here, what about the Canon 80D? The 80D is a nice camera, same scenario. It's an APS-C camera. You have to kind of try and imagine down the road. If, you know, a lot of people use the 80D for vlogging and things like that, and takes great pictures. So do you need a full frame camera to take great pictures? No, 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 no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But if you want to get to the point where you're doing, let's say, the kind of stuff that I'm doing, in all likelihood, you're going to want to go with a full frame camera at that point. So, you know, technology may beat me on that statement. You know, it may get to the point where the APS-C cameras and even the Micro Four Thirds are going to beat the full frames or match the full frames. Because believe me, the quality is really, really impressive. James Brown, thank you so much. So again, Canon 80D is a great camera. The D90 is actually, it's a really nice little camera. But before you start adding all the accessories, that's where you've got to try and kind of really do a little bit of soul searching to where do I see myself going? Okay? All right, so Tim, you're very welcome. Thank you. So James had a question here. What software do I use to manage your clients? Location, shoot, contacts, correspondence, etc. So, wow, James, I feel guilty since you gave me a super chat there because I don't. And I never did. Here's why, though. Let me explain, and then I want to point you in the direction of some good resources. So I never did because at the time in my career, when I was doing like portraits and weddings, where that would have been really helpful, and also at that time I was doing like little leagues and dance schools and a lot of that stuff, where that really would have helped me, computers weren't a thing yet. You know, it was back in the dark ages. Prior to my starting this YouTube thing, I literally managed everything I did simply out of Gmail and out of a little app called Evernote. Full disclosure, I'm a really OCD organized person. So that was actually more than adequate for me. And today, it's totally more than adequate for me. I run my life out of Evernote and Gmail, and it works great. That being said, there are some great utilities that are available. One of the first ones that comes to mind is a program called 17 Hats. So, in fact, let me see if I can get it on the screen here to make sure I give you the right address. I have sampled this program. It works pretty good. It just was more than what I needed. But I would encourage you to look at something like that. What you want to do is you want to do a Google search for customer relationship management. If you do that Google search, that's going to bring you up a lot of available resources. And James, if you're looking at this for the idea of being like a portrait and or wedding photographer, you should be considering a membership with PPA. I've talked about that many, many times before. I've done videos about it. Believe me, the insurance alone will make it worth your while, so consider that. But PPA also has some great resources and discounts on customer relationship management tools. Be careful and be honest with yourself. These two, you know, I told you guys about 17 Hats and I didn't switch my screen. I'm really sorry. There's 17 Hats. The link that I gave you is the right one, okay? But here's the thing that you need to understand about all of these customer relationship management tools. They're not cheap. So if you're going to spend the money for it, don't kid yourself. Meaning, you better be ready to bust your butt and make money. Otherwise, you are just going to throw money away. So, are they good? Are they worth it? Oh, hell yes. But you better make money. If you're not going to make money, don't spend that money, because all you're going to do is you're just going in the hole in the process. So, James, I hope that helps, okay? Let's see. Where are we at here? Jean-Edward Calvino. To make business headshots and portraits, when I go to my clients' offices, should I go for the round flash ring flash diffuser? Or am I better with an umbrella and a tripod? I have no car, only a bike. Wow, okay. So round flash ring flash diffuser. So if you mean like one of those like collapsible ring light type things, I would be very reluctant to encourage you to use that for portraits and headshots, like for business purposes. So if you're traveling on a bike and you've got to travel light, I would actually suggest, so now some people are going to disagree with the first thing I'm going to say, but I stand by this. I would suggest leave the tripod at home. Take a light stand or two. If you can afford collapsible lightweight light stands, you would be able to easily strap those onto a bike. Okay, so I'm gonna cross my fingers that you can afford two. I'm gonna say 2 light stands, and then 2 speed lights, and the cheapest thing, and they fold up nice and small, is 2 shoot-through umbrellas. Okay. You can get shoot-through umbrellas, well, those $6 ones that I talked about in the Beauty Dish video this weekend, which, by the way, for those of you that didn't see it, please, please, please make sure you check out my video this past weekend about how to make the Beauty Dish. A lot of you have been like chasing after me to make this video because I talked about it a while ago in a video and people are like, nah, come on, you can't possibly do that. So there's the proof, you can do it. So in that video, I talk about a $6 umbrella from PhotoFlex. And indeed, I was right. It's sold out. They emailed me today. They're gone, okay? So the good part of it is that particular umbrella, which I highly recommend, you can get that umbrella at Adorama for $17. And believe me, it's worth every penny. So, Jean, I would encourage you, take 2 stands, get the collapsible kinds, the ones where the legs fold up this way. They're small, they're lightweight. 2 stands, 2 shoot-through umbrellas. Don't get funky modifiers, okay? Because the problem is it's going to create interesting catch lights. While I don't mind the interesting catch lights for like beauty shots and things like that, you guys hear me talk all the time about how I don't mind interesting catch lights. For a business portrait, you want to be careful about that kind of stuff. You really want to keep things simple in that sense. So that would be my recommendation. And also too, for those of you that may not have seen it for some reason, please make sure you check out the video on the inverse square law. There is not a photographer around, myself included from time to time, believe me, that cannot use a refresher on the inverse square law. The inverse square law, I talk about this in this video, the inverse square law along with depth of field, the two most important tools that any photographer has when it comes to physics. Two most important tools, and actually two very creative tools when they're used properly, okay? So I would encourage you guys, make sure that you watch those two videos if you haven't already, okay? So Brian Hicks is asking me here, what is better for a beginner? Getting into off-camera flash, would it be more beneficial to start with constant off-camera LED lighting or speed or monolights? You know, Brian, my answer is beginning to change. So, you know, if you would have talked to me 6 months ago, this is flash, this is LEDs, I would have been like, flash, done. I would have said, you know, if you could afford a cheap LED light, like a cheap toy light, get that and just experiment, like with my egg video, okay? Just to get a sense of lighting, but when it comes to actual work, flash, okay? It's changing, and I can't, unfortunately, I am under a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't tell you all the details, but I can tell you that I have in my possession a set of LED lights that are game changers. So they take me from all the way down here to right about there. I'm not over the LEDs yet, still on the flash side, but these things are really cool. They're going to be available for sale later this summer, end of August, beginning of September. As soon as they are for sale, I will be able to tell you all about them, and I'll have some videos to show you and that kind of stuff. But that being said, Brian, I'm going to give you a more traditional answer, and it's a good answer. Start with a speed light. Start with one speed light. One. I don't care how much money you have, man. I don't care how cool the ideas are in your head that you want to go out and light and shoot. Start with one, and then add. So what you have to do is you got to do research, because before you buy that one, you want to look ahead to the idea of buying 6 and figure out which ones do I want. What kind of transmitters do I want to use? What kind of modifiers do I want to be able to put on them? What do I want to be able to do with them? Maybe you're going to go with an all-inclusive system like Godox that runs from speed lights all the way up to studio monolights. Maybe you just want workhorse strobes like I use, like the Luma Pro for speed lights, which are hands down the best speed lights ever made. But they're basic, they're old school, and that's why I love them. And they are durable. You can beat the crap out of them. And then in the studio for me, I love now the new DigiBees by Alien Bee because of the LED modeling lights that are bright enough to be used as video lights, because they're very versatile. So it all depends on where you want to go with your lighting. So before you buy that first one, do your research into the system that you want, and then you buy into that system. One at a time. Buy one, master it. Master it to the point that you're bored with it. But make sure that you're able to take consistently good pictures with that one. And in theory, you could do that in a week, with a lot of practice in that week, but do it. Then get the second one, and so on. 9 times out of 10, people go out and buy 3 or 4 strobes to put a kit together, and then they suck. Because once you've bought them, you want to use all 3 or 4. So they're starting out and they're trying to use 3 or 4 lights all at the same time, and it just doesn't work that well. One at a time, build your kit, put a foundation in place. That's the way to do it, okay? So let's see here. James, I spend far too much time post-processing my photos in Lightroom, Photoshop, and, Photoshop CC, sorry. Is there a plugin, add-on, or other program that can help you speed things up? Mostly retouching portraits. Well, yes, but not really, but maybe, kind of, sort of. What I mean by that, Clint, James, is there are programs like Portrait Pro, which you guys have heard me talk about many, many times. I hate. Add that company to the list. They'll never be sponsoring me, right? The reason I hate it, actually, Portrait Pro has made, let me be fair, full disclosure, they've made tremendous strides from even 3 years ago. in terms of what that software does and how well it does it. For the longest time, honestly, my biggest beef with Portrait Pro is that they use the world's worst pictures in their advertising. So I just had this beef that said, look, anybody that buys software by a company that would use a picture this bad to show off how good their software is, like, is an idiot. All that being said, that was just Joe being Joe. The software is much better, but I do find that a lot of beginners get it and then they overuse it and abuse it. So it's not really, really helping. What you want to do is you want to master Photoshop, start creating actions and making your own presets. That way, when you start to work on enough pictures, you're going to realize I do the same stuff all the time. So the one thing that you have to do is you have to kind of adopt a mentality when you're working in Photoshop. Anything that I repeat from one picture to the next, I need to make an action for that. So like for me, when I open up my files in Photoshop, I immediately hit F3. Now, if you do that, it's not going to work for you. When I do that, I've created a shortcut key so that as soon as I open the file, I hit F3, and what it does is it duplicates the background layer, and then it puts a blank layer on top called the retouch layer, which allows me to start my healing brush and clone stamp work. Okay, and then you guys have seen me before talk about and show how I do dodging and burning with a 50% neutral gray layer in Photoshop. So if I hit F2 on my keyboard, that creates that gray layer so that I don't have to go through all the steps. So I have a working philosophy of anytime I see myself doing stuff over and over and over and over again, I'm going to create presets and actions to shortcut that. That's the way that I would encourage you to approach it, Clint. I think that you will find overall you'll have a much better success, and you're not going to fall into the trap of getting lazy with the one-click type stuff, okay? So let's see here. LVR guy, will the DigiBees fire fully before charging? Yes, but they recharge wickedly fast. And I will tell you this, so here's what you weren't hoping to hear. You shouldn't have a problem with your strobes firing before they're fully charged. That means you're shooting too fast. There's no reason to shoot that fast. There's just not. Pace yourself. Slow down. One of the features, I don't know about the Dynalights, one of the features that the DigiBees have is they have audio and visual indicators that will tell you when they are recycled. So, that's something else to consider, okay? But that shouldn't be that much of a problem at all, okay? So, hey gang, before I forget, I want to switch screens here one more time. And not to brag, but actually, I have something that I want you all to do. So you all saw, those of you that follow me, you all saw my post about being named a light leader, which it's very exciting, and I'm really thrilled. I'm honestly, like I explained in my video, I'm more thrilled about our relationship that I'm being able to build with PhotoFlex and some of the other ProMark brand companies. But I want to let you guys know about something, and I need you all to do me a favor, like right now, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to paste a link here into the chat window. I'm going to ask all you guys to go, let me bring it up on the screen here. Whoop, not that one. Not that one. There it is. I'm going to ask all you guys to go to this link and like this Facebook page for me, okay? But that's not the real reason I want you to go there. What I want to let you know about, and for all of you that follow me, and I'm going to be posting this in my Facebook group, so especially for those of you that are in my Facebook group, I'm going to be challenging you. But even those watching me tonight, I'm challenging you. PhotoFlex does a really cool little contest. And a lot of people don't know about it. So I want to help them get the word out. Every Monday, they post a winner of a picture that, every Wednesday. I said Monday. It's every Wednesday. It's called Share Your Lighting. Okay? And the deal is you submit, I want to find another one here. This was a really cool one, a shot of the dog. I love this picture here, okay? You submit a behind-the-scenes shot of your shoot and a finished shot. And it goes to marketing@promarkbrands.com. Here, I'll even copy and paste that into the chat window for you guys, okay? And you can win prizes. And they post them on social media. They link them back to you. They show off your work. And here's the best part, gang, because I know a lot of you are going to say, but we don't use PhotoFlex yet. You don't have to use PhotoFlex. It can be any kind of gear. It can be any kind of lights. It's simply about learning. That's one of the things that really encouraged me to partner with the folks at PhotoFlex. I mean, if you noticed on their top of their Facebook page here, they have the PhotoFlex Lighting School, 150 free lessons, and more coming because yours truly and a bunch of the other new light leaders are going to be creating a whole bunch of new tutorials. In fact, I'm really excited to announce PhotoFlex has some new products coming out later this year that I'm going to be doing some of the initial kind of product videos for to show people how to use them, okay? So they're really, really, really focused on educating. So the idea is you show a behind the scenes shot and then you show the finished picture, just like you see here. Let me bring this one up, just like you see there, okay? You email it to marketing@promarkbrands.com, and every Wednesday, they give away a prize and they share your stuff. So I want to see you guys show up on their page. So get out there and start submitting your pictures. I will be making posts about this in the Facebook group over the next couple of days and encouraging people. So you got nothing to lose, gang. It's not like you got to go get a big print made. You got to submit 2 files. If you don't have any behind the scenes pictures yet, next time you shoot, start shooting behind the scenes pictures. It's not that hard, okay? Plus, it also gives you a good reference down the road to help you remember what you did and how you did it and to be able to learn from what you do, okay? All right, so let's scroll back up here. So, Matthew Watt Photography. I'm 18. Love it when we have teenagers here, Matthew. Now doing a self-portrait with a cigarette and a window light. I can't seem to capture the cigarette smoke without it looking faded. How would I make it look more full-bodied? So, Matthew, the one thing you didn't tell me here is what your background is. So the first thing I would encourage you to do is try and create a situation where you've got a dark area behind the smoke. That's going to be the first thing. Second thing would be try and set yourself up, if you can at all, so that the window light is coming mostly from behind the smoke, because that's the other challenge. If the smoke is front lit, it's not going to look as cool as if it's backlit. Just not. But definitely you want to go with a darker background, and that's really the best advice that I could give you. So LVR guy, yeah, too many years as a photojournalist. I'm with you, man. But hey, even as a photojournalist, spray and pray never gets the job done. So yeah, slow down is totally the key here. So Freemason 419. Most of the people I come across are not models, but regular people. Haven't you ever seen those t-shirts? Models are people too, right? Oh, sorry. Anyway, what's the best way to explain to non-models what a model release form is and the easiest way to get them to sign it? Be honest. That's it. So if I'm working with a person that's a non-model and I need a model release, which actually right now even a lot of the stuff that I'm doing for YouTube videos, the people that I work with are non-models, okay? And I'll work with them multiple times, but the first time, I have them sign a model release before I pick up the camera. So by the way, model releases, you get signed before you pick up the camera, not afterwards. Got that? That's your tip for the night. I simply explain to them, hey, listen, here's how copyright law works and all that good stuff. And I'll tell them, look, I need to get you to sign a release, but let me explain to you what this is all about. When I take your picture, I own the picture because I own the copyright. The law provides that. But you own you and the way you look. So I can't do anything with your picture unless you sign a release that lets me do it. And I use a fairly simple release. I don't use one of the ones that look like 12 lawyers wrote it. Mine only looks like 1 lawyer wrote it. And basically I explain to them, listen, let me go through it with you and show you what's here. And I do mine digitally. I actually do them on an iPad, but you can put them on a phone. I use an app called Easy Release because it allows me to upload my own release. And then once the model's done and signed, it will automatically email me and the model a PDF copy of the signed release, which is awesome. But I explained to them, listen, what's happening here is This release is giving me permission to do a couple of things. It is giving me permission to edit your photo, meaning if I want to make you skinnier or heavier or give you a third eye, I can do that. Also, it's giving me permission to be able to use it commercially. What commercially means is post it on Facebook, post it on my website, because my business website, that's a commercial entity. So it's allowing me to make use of the pictures. My release does allow me to resell the images. But what I explain to every model is, you know, occasionally I do have an opportunity to resell a photo. And it does happen. A couple of times a year, I may get an email from an advertising agency somewhere, and they found a picture either in one of my videos or they found it on my website that's like perfect for some kind of an ad campaign that they're doing. And so they want to buy it. So when that happens, I'll negotiate the sale, and then I go back to the model and I give them half of it, even if I paid them for the shoot. Because when I pay them for the shoot, and this is just, as far as I'm concerned, being a gentleman, being a good human being, when I pay for them for the shoot, if I pay them, I'm paying them for my immediate need, for whatever reason it was I was shooting it in the first place. Now, obviously, when I'm using models for the YouTube stuff and all that, I try not to pay a lot, if anything, because it's not like I make a ton of money off the videos. I make my money teaching. But if I pay, I'm paying for whatever that use is. So when I go ahead and I make that sale, I give them half of it. So I'll explain that to the model. And then I encourage them, read it, read all of it. If you have any questions, make sure you ask me. And I literally make them sit there and read the document. And then when they're done, part of the process is when you take the time, your time, to explain that, to break it down, to put it into English, to reassure them, what you're doing is you're convincing somebody, don't worry about it, sign it, without ever saying that. Because you can't just say to somebody, here's a release, don't worry about it, just sign it. No, anybody that's got any intelligence is not going to sign at that point, right? But by taking the time to break it down, be very explanatory, also reassure them, etc., that's the best way to do it, because that way you are really building that confidence, okay? And I've never had a problem at all. Josh, thank you so much, man, for the super chat. I really, really appreciate it, okay? Since I see that you asked about that app here. Bear with me 1 second, man. I'm trying to find it for you. I'm going to give you the link here for the Apple version. If you are an Android version, I'm pretty sure that they have this available for Android. So just, go look it up on the Google Android store and that. There are others. To be fair, there are others. I've used this app for years. I love it. It's super simple. And the fact that I can modify things, upload my releases, and even for that matter, upload multiple releases. Like one of the things that I will occasionally do when I shoot fine art nudes, if you've ever looked at my fine art nudes on my website, every so often I'll do a shoot with somebody and I don't include their face. It's kind of a fun challenge. Make an interesting picture with some kind of emotion and feeling without the communication tools. So when I do that, it's actually worked out really well for me, getting some really great models to do those fine art nudes. Models that would otherwise never pose nude because of their face. In other words, not wanting to be seen. But in order to assure them that I can't use pictures with their face, I've got a second release that I've kind of amended, and it has a statement in it that says, I will never use your face or associate your name or any identifying features with your photographs. That way, they're protected legally, that if I would ever use one of these pictures that I shot of them and it shows their face, they can come back and sue the pants off of me and win, because I've agreed on a release that says I will never do that. So again, it's also about giving the subject reassurance and comfort. So the biggest thing for most of you, you're going to find that when it comes to working with people in general, even models, because a beginner model's not going to understand all this stuff, it's simply about taking the time, explain things to people. Put yourself in their shoes. What would your worries be? What would your concerns be? Address that. If you just walked up to somebody and say, hey, sign this release for me. Well, yeah, they should doubt you and be wondering what the heck you're handing them. It's that simple, okay? So let's see, Jose, I don't have plans to move to a full frame. What do you think about third-party lenses like Sigma 18 to 35 1.8 for APS-C sensors? I don't have a problem with third-party lenses. Jose, do your research. So right out of the box, if you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm not a gear junkie. So I'm not one of those guys that salivates and drools over gear and has to try out every new piece of gear. I'm doing a little bit more with gear along the way, but it's really based upon my workflow. Not to say that down the road, who knows, maybe I'll start doing more gear reviews, but I'm just not that interested in that. So literally what you do is, if you like the looks of that Sigma 18 to 35, you go out, you read everything you can on that Sigma 18 to 35. You see what the reviewers are saying, you see what the upsides, the downsides are. You go to YouTube, you look up that lens on YouTube, where you're gonna see people post samples, you're gonna see people talk about it. You never take the word of any one person, because it's a review online. So, you know, across the board, you see what people have to say, and you go from there. And then, if you have any doubts, purchase it at a place like Amazon. Amazon has a great return policy. So that way you get the thing, you try it hot and heavy for the first week that you have it. If you like it, life is good. If you're not happy with the way it works, pack it up good, send it back, get your money back, move on to another brand. The only reason I suggested the Amazon thing, because I'm sure Amazon would not like me suggesting that, but if you were talking about buying a Nikon lens or a Canon lens or a Sony lens, rent it. Simply rent it, because you can rent that stuff really, really cheap. But a lot of the third-party lenses, you can't rent them. Some you can, some you can't. So if you can't rent, I have a feeling you probably can't rent that Sigma. So in that case, you buy one. Buy it at a place like Amazon. It's got a good return policy, and then go ahead and ship it back if you don't like it. That would be my advice. Okay. So. Tony Keeble, I have a release with tick boxes. The model can tick relating to using faces, identifying marks, tattoos. Yeah, you can. The only thing I'd be careful of there, Tony, if I go into a shoot with the understanding that I'm going to photograph her face, in other words, I'm always having those conversations well in advance of the shoot. I don't wait until the day of the shoot to have that conversation. So if I go into the shoot, with the intent to shoot her face, and then for whatever reason she's gotten cold feet and checks that box, now I've wasted my day, because I'm going in with one plan and the model suddenly has changed my plan. So I got to be honest with you. I would just simply have multiple releases, because to me, the release is not a multiple choice question thing. I've done enough due diligence with that subject in advance and had conversations with them that they know what I expect. I know that they've agreed. I'm going to give them the paper to sign. If they've changed their mind, they shouldn't show up. So, if it's working for you, seriously, honest, that's great. But for me, not so much. Stefan Ski, whichever. I apologize on the last name. What are your thoughts on the MacFun Luminaire editor? I'm not ready yet. It looks pretty cool. So, full disclosure, I have it. I've looked at it like 4 times. Some stuff it does really, really cool and fast and quick. Other stuff, because I have not had the time to really sit down and work my way through it, it just confused the crap out of me. Because obviously I'm used to Adobe and Photoshop. So from reviews from people that I respect, I'm hearing that it's pretty awesome, but it's not a Photoshop replacement. So that's hearsay. My own personal experience has been 3 times, limited amount of time. I just haven't had the time to sit down with it. So I hate to say, oh, it's great or oh, it sucks. It looks really interesting. And for the few things that I was able to get it to do, that I understood what was going on, did a pretty good job. But in order for me to really give you, solid feedback, I'm going to have to try and find some time to actually sit down and dig into it a little bit. Okay. SinsPix, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the super chat. Thank you, guys. So let's back up here, because I know I missed some along the way. Wilson Photo. I have 2 umbrellas and a PhotoFlex 5-in-1 circular reflector. I honestly like their brand. Brand new after 8 years. Yeah, man. PhotoFlex stuff, it does rock. I swear to God, gang, I don't make any money off of PhotoFlex at all. Yeah, I get a little bit more exposure, which is really helpful, but I'm not getting paid. I've used their stuff literally since I was a teenager and stuck with it all these years. So let's see here. I know that I missed some back here. Will Sound Photo, been using the Godox and the ecosystem, high-speed sync. Yeah, I mean, Godox stuff looks pretty good. I'm not a big fan of all the automated stuff. I love the, as everybody calls it, the ecosystem that Godox is building. I think that's really, really well done. I think that they're a little feature heavy, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't need all that stuff. And the fact of the matter is, very few people need all those features. But if that works best for you, then not a problem. That's great. And so far, I've heard very little that's bad about it. Okay. Sven asked me back here, I plan to do more website reviews. Along the way, Sven, yes. I think they're going to be a little bit more random. But unfortunately, I mean, full disclosure, people just weren't tuning in for the Thursday night marketing talk chats. I was averaging really, about 100 people for those, which, I should be grateful for 100 people, and I'm grateful for those 100 people. But over the course of a week or 2 weeks following, those website reviews were only getting maybe 2,000 views. So unfortunately, they were just taking time away from producing videos. And that's why I'm going to this format, so that the people that like the shorter videos, they're going to be able to come in, watch a 10-minute video on a topic, and then they don't have to hang around for the Q&A if they don't want to. Okay, so again, like I've done from the beginning, gang, it's all an experiment. We're going to see, but yeah, I'm confident there will be some more marketing stuff before it's all said and done with. Don't worry. Okay. Let's see. Tony Keeble, the majority of shoots I do are not Facebook friendly, hence I've not posted the group yet. Hey, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, doesn't mean you can post them to the group, but yeah, if they're not Facebook friendly, they're not Facebook friendly. So Brian Hicks, filters. What ones would you consider essential, and what ones can be ignored to do in post-production? There's the Coke tip for the night. So Brian, are you referring to filters in post? I'm sorry. Or are you asking filters in camera and then ignore them because you can do it in post? So let me try and answer this both ways. So for me, I use UV filters on my lenses, period. Okay, but that's it. I very, very occasionally I'll use a UV filter or a polarizing filter. Keep in mind that I shoot people most of the time, so I don't have a lot of need for like polarizers and UV filters and that kind of stuff. I'll come back to that, Brian. I'm sorry. Stefan, let me educate you a little bit about the way that I do things. Okay. Your comment here about Sigma lenses are not recommended, poor, worse quality control, longevity. Where's your proof, man? Okay. Do me a favor, please. I know you're trying to be helpful. A post like that is a bunch of hot air. Because the fact of the matter is, it depends on the lens. Just like you guys know that I use a Tokina, a brand that most people think is like bottom of the barrel brand. I use a Tokina 100mm lens that will like walk over anything that Nikon and Canon has to offer in that same space. Okay? So let me go back to the recommendation that I made. And while I appreciate you being helpful, if you're going to be helpful with facts. He asked about a specific lens. So if you've got links to a review of that specific lens that prove, not somebody's opinion, not somebody that bought it and said, oh, it sucks, but bench tests, actual benchmark information, visual proof, by all means, please share those links. But otherwise, guys, those kind of posts, all right, we don't do that here. There's no experts. I'm not an expert. That's why I sent him off to do research, because that's the best thing that he can do. Not to listen to somebody on the internet. Like, really, why would you do that? Hey, go do the research. So seriously, I appreciate you trying to help, but understand that's not how we do things. So yeah, Brian, on-camera filters, UV filters, that's it. And keep in mind, a lot of the crazy lighting that I do, like that backlighting that you guys see me do all the time, you got to take the UV filters off for that stuff. Otherwise, they create a lot more flare than you really want, okay? Jeffrey, the DxO Mark site, it's not that I like it, I know about it. I don't, you guys know I'm not a gear junkie, like literally. I don't read any of that crap. When I got the Tokina, I've told the story many, many times, I had a bunch of people tell me about the Tokina. I saw some images from it. It looked interesting. So I figured, okay, cool. For, $400, I'll buy it on Amazon and I'll return it if I don't like it. And the lens was amazing. I didn't get into photography, gang, for the numbers. I hate math. I hate all the engineering crap. Sorry, engineers. I just do. You know, just like in Don's article that I talked about in the very beginning tonight, you know, there are people that are all about the gear and the numbers and what's right and all this stuff. It's, you know, who cares? Like, who gives a shit? I pick up a camera because I want to interact with people. That's what I do. So the DxO Mark is considered to be, like, you know, pretty good, but I couldn't tell you anything about it beyond that. So, James Brown, headshot posing. What video do you have posted? Like 20 of them, man. Seriously, go back through my channel. There's a ton where I talk about it. There's no video that's specifically about how to post a headshot. None. Okay? Because you know how I post people for a headshot? I tell them to sit down just like I'm sitting right now. Sometimes I'll turn them this way. That's about it. It's a headshot, man. Okay? So yeah, but I talk about posing people in headshots literally in about 20 of my videos. So there's a bunch there. Go ahead back and watch them all, man. Watch them all. Kevin, I wish to get a portable light stand for my speedlights, and I'm confused as to whether I should go for a regular one or one that has a boom arm. Well, booms are usually not that portable, and while you can get portable booms, they tend to not be very stable, and that kind of thing. So, I mean, you might want to look at, let's see here. So let me pull up the PhotoFlex one, because what I actually like about theirs, to be perfectly honest with you, is it's a little heavier than some of the collapsible ones. So PhotoFlex has, let's see, I think it's this one here, the Light Stand Compact. How tall is this one? Let me make sure I'm giving you the right one here. Yeah, so this one goes, it collapses at 21 inches. It goes up to 83.5 inches, which is, you know, a decent height. So on this one, the legs go up this way. That type of thing is going to work out fine. And then depending on what you need to do with that boom, Kevin, because remember, normally a boom stand is going to be a lot heavier because of the boom. If you're just going to like put a speedlight up for maybe like a hair light, you could also go with, whoops, sorry. Oh, you know what? Here, I didn't show you guys the screen. I clicked, but I didn't show it. So here, let me back up. My apologies. I'm talking about the doggone stand, and I'm not showing it to you. There's the stand I was talking about. So it's called Light Stand Compact. Let me go back one more time. So if you're on the PhotoFlex website, right here, it's Light Stand. And it's still not there. My goodness, why is my screen not changing? There we go. Okay, one more time. So, Light Stand Compact, right there, okay? It folds up to 21.5 inches in size, but then it goes up to 83 inches high. And if you want to boom just like a little speed light, what you can do, April, thank you so much. Oh, awesome, April. I mean, not awesome that you had a hard drive fail, but awesome you went with Backblaze and they were able to take care of it. Really, really great. Glad to hear that that worked out. Seriously, okay? So let's see. Back to the quick question here about for Kevin. They have these things called light disc holders, which are actually, you can use them for dual purpose. These are designed to hold a reflector, but it mounts on the top of a light stand. And with the little end that it's got here, if you get a Speedlight hot shoe holder, it'll mount on the end and you can extend it out about 4 feet. And that'll give you a boom arm to put a Speedlight on. You will need to weight your stand. In other words, use like a stand daddy like I did in my videos, or a sandbag or something. You'll need to weight the stand. But that's one way that you could approach it for sure, okay? Whoops, there we go. That's where we need to be. So, gosh, April, I'm really glad that you did have, you really did have Backblaze, because that would have been horrible. So, Stefan, okay, cool. So at least thank you for coming back and letting me know that it was Ken Wheeler. For those of you that don't know who Ken Wheeler is the angry photographer. I don't want any angry photographer bashing here. Ken's a great guy. We don't see eye to eye on everything, you know, but he knows his stuff. He really does. So that being said, I would be a little bit more inclined to believe something Ken's saying, but I also know, in fairness, Ken really hates Sigma, okay? So I'm going to tell you, yes, see what Ken has to say about that lens, if he talks about that specific lens, but then also go look at other sources. Do your research. It always comes down to doing your research, gang. You know, totally, okay? Emmanuel, NECCC, I am going. And in fact, one more little piece of information here, just for those of you that don't know, this weekend, if you're going to be in New England, in Massachusetts, I know this is kind of like a really old school website, but it's an awesome event. It is the 72nd annual New England Camera Club Council Photography Conference. I will be speaking there on Friday and Saturday. Friday morning for 3 hours, 9 to 12, I will be teaching a workshop on social media for photographers. And it's a hands-on workshop, meaning like we're digging into the attendees' social media and we're going to fix it and give them a social media plan during the workshop. Brian, thank you so much for the super chat, man. I really appreciate it. Friday afternoon, I'll be doing a talk about portraiture. And then Saturday, I'll be doing the same talk 2 more times about portraiture. What's great about this event, just to give you guys some background, the keynote speaker this year is Brian Peterson, also another YouTuber, highly published photographer. You've seen him all over the web. Great stuff. They have tons of speakers on tons of different topics. Everything from, you know, wildlife to kids to portraits to weddings to the kind of stuff that I do. Loads of information. Canon, Nikon, Sony, Panasonic, and Olympus, I believe. They're all going to be there lending out gear so that you can go and you can check out lenses and cameras and try them out. Canon's going to be there. If you take a file, they will print your file. Hunt's Camera from New England, which is one of the biggest camera retailers in New England, they will be there. You got to be careful of your credit cards and checkbooks because they set up a huge camera store right in the middle of the conference. It's held on the campus of the University of Massachusetts. So, Emmanuel, since you're asking, I hope you will be there. Make sure you come to one of my talks. Track me down. Michael Hardy, will I be at Photo Expo in New York City this year? Of course. Yes, I will be there. I'm not presenting, but I will be there at least 2 of the 3 days, wandering around, saying hi to people, checking stuff out. So yes, I will absolutely be there and seeing what's new and exciting, okay? So Trevor Rao, here in the UK, the Pixapro portable lightweight foldable light stands, the equivalent, 29 pounds, same design. Okay, cool. So, and believe me, guys, there's lots of options, okay? I can also tell you that LumaPro has a collapsible stand that I really like. It's not quite as heavy. The reason why I specifically went with the PhotoFlex one, again, just so you guys don't think I'm just like pimping PhotoFlex. I don't make money on PhotoFlex. That particular stand is a little heavier. So if I was strictly concerned with lightweight and portability, I actually wouldn't go with the PhotoFlex one. What I like about it is it works like the lightweight compact stands. It is smaller and lighter than a heavy-duty studio stand, but it's a little bit heavier if you want something that you're going to use with an arm and extend stuff off of. That was the reason why I picked that one. So, Jared Long, where can someone find your info to bring you to an event? Just visit my website and send me an email with information about the event or have someone contact me that way. On the About page at joeedelman.com, if you scroll down to the bottom, you can download my media kit. All that information is there. And Ryan, really want to know how you set up the tool in your video yesterday. Ryan, I promise in the near future, I will do a little video short. And I'll probably actually do it here for a TogChat intro. And I'll show you guys how I do the tool. There's like a ton of different ways to do it. But yeah, I'll show you some of my aerodynamics of material techniques. Over the years, because I do a lot of that flying material stuff, over the years I've learned a lot of really cool tricks. And I've got literally 4 different sized fans in my studio, all of which will, you know, kind of serve a different purpose depending on what I'm trying to do with the material. So, hey, I see a couple of you guys trying to get everybody to do the likes. Seriously, guys, if you could, it would be really appreciated. A quick thumbs up. It only takes a second. And after I sign off, feel free, leave a comment, say hi, all that good stuff. So, listen, I do have to run, gang. It's been an awesome night. I hope you guys like the new format. As always, we're going to continue experimenting. We're going to continue trying to make it better. I really sincerely appreciate the support. To go back to our first 10 minutes, and the discussion we had about Don's article at DIYphotography.net and the whining and the struggling and why people fail. You know what I'm going to tell you. There's another reason that people fail. They don't practice. So gang, get out there, take some pictures, and whatever you do, please remember these words.
Thanks for watching another live episode of TogChat. Now go pick up that camera and shoot something, because your best shot, it's your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.